Baseball's back, Tiger's back, and I'm back. All that and more at Sports QuaranTV. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson. Yes, it is me. I am back. Gerry Green. Gerry, I haven't done a show with you. We were calculating it before we started recording. I think this has been like week 6 in between me not being here, and then you had one game you were off.
I think
and then of course
started it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was you. You started it, and then then it was me. I caused some conflicts, and then the state of the province caused some conflicts, and we just couldn't get everything together. We had to miss a couple weeks. Bottom line, my friend, it is good to see you. It's good to be back. We have a great show lined up tonight. We've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to start right here, like we always do, with the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. The season is winding down now. We're getting into the crunch part of the year, and there's some hot teams in the queue right now.
Yeah, and there's, Chris, it's amazing how all of a sudden the Quebec Rampart, not amazing, but interesting how the Quebec Rampart have kind of snuck up on everybody. They've won 8 in a row. They're currently tied in the top of the standings with the Charlottetown Islanders. And the Islanders have had a little bit of a hiccup along the way, but they've had some injuries to deal with, just like everybody else. So there's no excuses there. But their top scorer, Xavier Simoneau, is not in their lineup. But everybody suffers through those injuries from time to time. You got Bathurst, winners of 11 of their last 13. You got St. John on a roll, won 3 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're all surging up. St. John in 5th, Bathurst in 4th, and Quebec and Charlottetown in the top, and Sherbrooke sandwiched in between. What's surprising, though, Chris, is how Shawinigan has fallen off the map a little bit. They're only won 2 of their last 10 and have found themselves falling down quickly in the standings. But the interesting game from last week, Sherbrooke was in Quebec City against the Rampart, and the Rampart were all over them. Not only from a scoreboard perspective at 6-2, but outshot them, outplayed them, outhit them. And here we got the Quebec Rampart and the Gatineau Olympic coming through the Maritimes this weekend. St. John gets both of them, and they also get Acadie Bathurst this week. Should be real interesting to see for the St. John Sea Dogs, who are going to be in the Memorial Cup hosts, where they stand, Chris. It's going to be interesting indeed.
I love the fact that Quebec's finally starting to turn it on, because I was very crucial of them early on in the season because things weren't quite going. And I thought that maybe the Ramparts had, showed their cards a little too early, because don't forget, they were the second team in that bid for the Memorial Cup this year. And so they started making moves in the offseason to try to solidify this blue line and kick the season off right. Well, they didn't have to make a whole lot of moves come trade deadline because they didn't have the assets left to do it. But now you're starting to see that team and why they were looking to bid. And I think that there's a good chance they feel they can win this whole thing. Personally, I still think that the Q champion will be coming out of the Maritime division. I wholeheartedly believe that. There's something about St. John going on right now. I've been watching a lot of these local Maritime games lately, and, watching some of the things that you and I have criticized the St. John Sea Dogs for in the past, and that was their blue line. It's something's not right there. Yes, they're playing good hockey, but I don't feel like every game they're dominating. They're not blowing everybody out of the water like people thought they were. Offensively, they're extremely talented and extremely gifted. They're getting some great goaltending behind them, but there's just something's missing that I think is just a Gordy Dwyer tweak away from them being probably one of the best teams the Q has seen in a long time. But that being said, you got to talk about Bathurst, and you have to talk about Charlottetown, because Lucas Cormier just got back in the lineup for Charlottetown. If you look at some of the things they've been doing, they've been hot all year long. It wouldn't put past me. Like, if I was to watch if I was to watch St. John and Charlottetown in the playoffs in a series, that to me will be the series of the year. I don't care who wins the President's Cup. That's the 7-game series that I want to see.
They're jockeying for position, but any good team that's going to win a championship is going to win games on the road. It's nice to have home ice advantage, absolutely. And that's what you shoot for. But it's not the do-all, end-all. Just make sure you're healthy as you get into the playoffs is the key thing. But this past week, Chris, William Dufour, who plays for the St. John Sea Dogs, broke the Sea Dogs record for players scoring goals. He hit 48. He was previously head by Danik Gauthier, I believe, at 47. So he's broke that record. He and Joshua Waugh are battling for the top spot in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League's individual scoring. Dufour leads in goals with 48. Waugh leads in assists with 59. So we'll see how the St. John Sea Dogs, those are the games I'm going to watch this week against those 3 oppositions, all 3 at home ice. So that should be very interesting. If you want to stick with the ice, Chris, do you want to move on to the NHL?
Let's move on to the NHL, because there's a few things that have just been so crazy to look at, and it's got to start with Auston Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I mean, if you look at how many goals he has scored, the guy is absolutely lethal. Could he go down as the best goal scorer in the National Hockey League? I would say, I'm not going to say unequivocally and undebatable, because Alexander Ovechkin at his age is still piling them on. But watching Auston Matthews do what he does at this point, I don't think it's crazy to think that he could get to 65. I really don't.
Well, okay, 12 games left, okay? Even if he scores a goal every other game, there's 6, that's going to get him to 60.
Right.
And the way he's been going lately against two good teams, Tampa Bay and Florida this week, and scored 3 against Tampa Bay, had another one against Florida, I think just 1 against Florida, and had a couple of assists. In a crazy game, can I say that, in regards to 7-6 for two teams that are supposed to be, challenging for a Stanley Cup, didn't seem like a kind of a playoff game to me, but very entertaining. The coaches certainly weren't going to like it. So Auston Matthews, yes, he moves into 54 very quietly. Leon Draisaitl sits at 50. No one seems to talk about him because he doesn't live in Toronto. That's probably why.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I say that all the time. But here you have a Florida team also, Chris, that's led by Jonathan Huberdeau. Just for the first time, Panther to go over 100-point plateau. He's now at 102. He leads the league in assists with 76. His team scores more goals than anybody in the AHL, even more than the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Panthers are at 294, and the Leafs and the Colorado Avalanche are at 270. They seem to have all the ingredients. I like the way Florida looked the other night against Toronto. Down 5-1. Did we mention that Florida was down 5-1 to Toronto and came back to win in overtime? But I find, the discussion about, is it Huberdeau? Is it Connor McDavid? Is it Auston Matthews for the most valuable player? Well, there's a case that can be made for all of them. And, I just don't know if it's Auston Matthews. I don't know if it's Connor McDavid. McDavid has 106 points, still leads the NHL in scoring. He's got 12 or so games left. Could he hit 130? Sure he could. Could he hit 120? Of
course he could.
Sure he could.
And don't forget too, Jerry, the Florida Panthers are doing all of this without Aaron Ekblad on the blue line right now. Right? Like, if you look at key pieces,
Mackenzie Weegar's the number one guy,
which is ridiculous, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. But either way, that's what shows you a good hockey team is a good hockey team. But going back to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, you're absolutely right. Nothing is stopping. And I'm not going to say Leon's quietly overshadowing Auston Matthews, because you are right. I mean, based off where we live and what gets discussed, of course, the Habs and the Leafs, that's what's all talked about, right? But if you talk to any Oilers fan out there, they'll tell you flat out right now, they'll look you dead in the eye, even though half of them are delusional. They'll look you in the face and say, Leon Draisaitl's better than Auston Matthews. And I'm like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Leon's great. Don't get me wrong. And yes, Leon and Connor are one of the best 1-2 tandems in the league, but then you got Mitch and Austin on the other side. And, to me, they're so close. But when it comes to pure goal scoring, not to mention the defensive side of the puck, Auston Matthews all day, every day. Give him to me 100 out of 100 times.
They're two totally different type of scorers. Draisaitl's a more power forward, and Mike Johnson, who I enjoy as a color analyst, was doing a game the other night and talked about the release points of Auston Matthews' wrist shot.
Yep.
And I found it quite interesting, and I never noticed the type of maneuvers he makes to get the puck in a very small window to get it away. And so he's a very talented player. I don't like him. I'll say that openly. But my goodness, it's going to be it's not a slam dunk for him in regards to who's going to be MVP. I think still McDavid has the inside track, and it's going to be fun to see what's going to happen.
Do you know who gets compared to Auston Matthews just a little bit right now as far as shots go and releases go? You talking about release points?
Oh my God, does he play for Montreal?
Does he play for Montreal? If Marty St. Louis was the head coach all season long, you would have won the Calder. Anyways. Goal
that wasn't on the sheet. We weren't supposed to talk about Montreal tonight.
I was sneaking it in. I was sneaking it in. Anyways, Jerry, let's move on from the NHL, because we've got two major pieces of the show left we have to talk about, and that is baseball's back, baby. Baseball is back.
Well, what makes it so exciting, Chris, is all the predictions of the success or the ability to be successful for the Toronto Blue Jays. And it scares me a little bit. I mentioned it on a show with Jason a couple weeks ago. It scares me a little bit. Everybody's got them propped up. They certainly look, if they can do what they did last year offensively. And I think the rotation, I think, Chris, is a little bit better than it was last year with the people that they put together. So they have them pegged to win the American League East. They have them to possibly, depend on who you ask, in the World Series versus the LA Dodgers. It blows my mind. It's going to be exciting to watch, and I just hope the manager doesn't get in and Montoya doesn't get in the way. That's all I hope.
Everybody knows this. It's not a secret, not a surprise. I'm not a Toronto Blue Jays fan by any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, if you don't like what this lineup has, if you don't like what this lineup is doing, if you don't think the additions they've put on this thing are fantastic, then you don't understand baseball. And as far as the odds go, right now the Jays are just squeaking out the Giants for that second odds favorite to win the World Series. Of course, the Dodgers are the first, the new home of Freddie Freeman, of course, are favored to win the World Series. But overall, you talk about Montoya. Look, at least Montoya is involved in the game. I mean, you got to remember when John Gibbons used to take naps in the dugout, for goodness sakes. But overall, I just think it's so amazing to look at how good this is for baseball, how good this is for the country. If the Blue Jays are good, forget the Blue Jays in general, like altogether. Look at the American League East. The American League East is going to be one hell of a division. Obviously as a Red Sox fan, I'm not delusional. I do think they'll finish ahead of the Yankees. I do. But I think the Jays win the division. I think they overshadow Tampa. I do. I also think the Jays win 100 games this year. I really do. I think they break the 100-game plateau.
Yeah, that's what Tampa did last year to win the American League East.
But now there's a new team in the wild card.
Well, I hear the Sox don't have Sale for the first few months of
won't have them for opening. Yeah, you're right. You won't.
There you go. And the Yankees are more, I guess, ranked than anybody else than the remaining in the American League East. But what you do like is that the American League East could produce, of course, a division winner, but could produce maybe 3 wild cards, because now this year there's 3 wild cards in the American and 3 wild cards in the National League. And the also little thing is, and we've talked about it on the show, the DH is going to be incorporated in both leagues. But the other interesting division, Chris, is in the National League West. And it was last year. Hopefully it lives up to its expectations this year, because San Diego stunk the bed a little bit and San Francisco played fantastic. So you got LA, San Francisco, and the San Diego Padres, who are going to be without Tatis. Who lets your star player ride a motorcycle? Isn't that what happened? And you hurt his wrist? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah.
Who does that? I don't know. But also the other ones you got to consider, Chris, Dodgers, Jays. They say the Chicago White Sox, which has an easy division, is going to be a team to watch. And the Brewers are supposedly a team to watch. And don't forget about the Astros and the Mets. Throw them all in there, because the Mets enhanced their rotation by adding Scherzer in there with DeGrom, and supposedly they've added to their offense as well. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait. I like the Blue Jays rotation. I think a whole season with Barrero. You've got Gosman coming in, Ryu, and I want to see more of Manoah. I want to see how he's going to play. It's going to be, and what will Nate Pearson do for the Blue Jays? And where can you put him? You can put him anywhere.
And what's crazy to believe is that there were still heavy rumors, and fans all over the place were trying to convince everybody that the Jays were still in on Jose Ramirez playing for the Guardians, right? Who just signed his extension. That was like 5 years, $124 million. Good on Rogers to spend the money to make this happen. They're putting a competitive ball club, and they had to. They had no choice for the longest time. And I don't want to say this in a negative light, but it has to come out. The Jays were looked at as I'm not going to call it a poverty franchise, of course, but they were afraid to spend the money. There was those very, very scarce years they had in Toronto. And if you look at other teams that, kind of got compared to, just not as bad, our Jason had sent us a bit of a tweet that had gone out the other day, and I thought it was hilarious. And I'm going to read it tonight. And that was, the Oakland A's had the highest payroll in baseball in 91, and it was $33 million that year. Well, it's 2022, and their payroll is still $33 million today. So good on the Rogers organization, good on the Blue Jays, good on spending that money. I think it's great for everybody. You have to spend it if you're going to compete in the American League East, and boy, are they ever going to compete.
Yeah, I say, the Oakland Athletics and Billy Beane are doing
Moneyball, great movie. Great movie.
They've got, They're trading away major assets, including Chapman, to the Blue Jays to survive the way they can. Whether or not now they deserve to have a national baseball team in Oakland is another question. But I was reading MajorLeagueBaseball.com, and they had the Blue Jays rotation ranked number 3. They had the Mets at number 1, had the Blue Jays at number 3, which I found interesting. Jason and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, Chris, in regards to this pitch comm, where they're going to have the communications between the pitchers and the catchers. Have you developed any sort of opinion about that?
I do and I don't. That part doesn't bother me so much. It's a lot of the other rule changes coming in that have really kind of irritated me quite a bit. But overall, from the comms perspective, that doesn't irritate me at all. I know that they're trying to cut down on the sign stealing. They're trying to cut down on everything that's happening. And if you can get that comm line open without giving away what's I don't know. I see it on both fronts. I'm an old school baseball guy. I'm all about hand signs. I'm all about, anyways, but overall, that's the one that I have the least problem with.
Jay, Chris, we've been into this.
I've been called worse.
Major League Baseball for a few minutes now, and we haven't even mentioned the defending champs. The Atlanta Braves still are a solid team. Yes, they let Freddie Freeman go, and everybody has their opinion about that. Sentimentally, I thought they should have kept him for all he did for the Atlantic Braves. But then they go and get Matt Olson from the A's, who's going to play first base and a good first baseman, and they still get all the ingredients, including some players that are suspended and some players that are still injured, that are the nucleus of a great team in Atlanta. And so don't count them out either.
Oh, Atlanta wins the NL East I don't even think it's close. I think they're, 10 games up on the guys behind them. I think you're right just because Freddie Freeman's gone, they had, and you could see it. You could tell in Alex Anthopoulos' eyes when he did that press conference after it happened and they made the signing. It killed him to do it, but you have to do what's right for the team. You have to do what's right for baseball. And I'm sure there was a conversation between him and Freddie that made that decision the way it was. Freddie Freeman going to the Dodgers is not shocking to me. I was even though last minute there was conversations about him squeaking into a Red Sox lineup somehow, somewhere, I got a little excited, but overall it's, it doesn't shock me, but the Atlanta Braves are going to be good. I still think they win the NL East.
So that's going to be fun. Major League Baseball is going to get underway this week. And also when you talk about the first weekend or second weekend, I guess in April, Chris, you talk about the Masters. How you feeling about what's going to be happening at the Masters? And the major story going in is about Tiger Woods. Do you think it's a distraction to all the other players? Do you think it's worthy of the number one headline? Come on now. He's Tiger Woods.
Of course it's worthy of the headline. Ask any golfer on tour and they'll tell you the exact same thing. Tiger Woods playing golf is the best thing that goes on with that sport right now. I met a guy today. I was out having lunch today and a guy said to me, he won't watch the Masters because Tiger Woods is playing.
He won't.
He will not. And it shocked me because it's the first time I've ever heard that. And I said, why is that? And he goes, because I could be watching another pairing. I could be watching something, a guy's teeing off, somewhat in the hunt. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods leaning on his 7-iron at the tee box. Nothing's happening. He's just leaning on an iron, and that's where the camera's going to go. I was like, of course, but Tiger's earned that right.
Yeah, but I agree totally. The producers of this, the Masters program and in golf in general.
He changed the game.
Hold on now. What do you mean he changed the game? I mean, yes, he's a unique individual and he is one of a kind. Absolutely.
Youth golf increased because of Tiger Woods many years ago.
Here's my point. Tiger Woods 14 months ago had a leg that they were thinking about amputating. And now he's the heart of a lion. He's determined. He's professional. He's a winner. 2 big bones in your leg had 3 fractures to them, and some of them sticking out, not to get too gross with anybody.
Right.
And now to tell me, and here's my point, Chris, to tell me that leg has been fixed enough, and he looks great in practice, that he's going to play or even contend for the Masters. I don't think personally he finishes. He might get the 2 rounds in, not make the cut. I don't think he finishes. And number 2, the conspiracy guy in me, I think he's a distraction away from Phil Mickelson and everything that happened with him and the fact that he won't be at the Masters. That's what I think, because Phil was going to be the big story. All of a sudden, Tiger I'm going to play. What was it? 10 days ago? He was walking the course, said, I'm going to play. All of a sudden, huge distraction. You don't even talk about Mickelson.
It's because he won the PIP, and all of a sudden he felt like he was good enough to go. And I know this is going to be hard for you and all the viewers out there to believe. I'm not in peak athletic form. I'm not a super athlete. I know that's probably a shocker to all of you. Tiger Woods is a freak in nature, man. Like, he has the best doctors in the world. He has the best surgeons in the world. He's a golfer. It's what he wants to do. Tiger Woods in an interview said himself, and I loved it. The quote came out and said, years ago, you said yourself, if you didn't think you could win, you wouldn't play in a tournament. Do you think you can win the Masters? And he responded with 2 words, and that was, I do. And I will tell you right now, you can't look, you could be right. As far as the distraction thing goes, I think that's really out there in left field. I think at that point you're talking crop circles. Like, I think that's a bit out there. But at the same time, Tiger Woods, golf is better. If Sunday's happening and Tiger's in the hunt wearing a red shirt, I don't care what you say. The ratings are through the roof and everybody loves it.
Oh, no, absolutely. The ratings.
And I think he gets there. Chris. I think he gets there.
I'm not saying it's not good for the game and it's not good for the Masters. That's why it is happening, because it is good for the Masters. And the negative connotation of Mickelson not being there, and some of the Dustin Johnsons and the DeChambeaus, that they haven't had a great season so far. It's been kind of a vanilla kind of a season start. You know, Scotty Scheffler, who is my favorite, is number 1 with the Fed Cup numbers and has won 3 tournaments already, is my favorite going in. Who knows about him? Nobody knows about him. So yes, that is going to juice up the ratings. And you can't tell me that, the PGA and the Masters are sitting back, said, boys, we got to stir this up. What can we do? Yeah, let's get Tiger to come. I'm telling you, he's not finishing the tournament.
Okay. And your opinion is absolutely warranted. It's wrong, but it's warranted. I think it's fantastic. Look, I don't think Tiger's going to win it either. I think Jon Rahm's going to win this thing, but statistically speaking, the Masters tournament is usually won by a veteran pro on the tour. It's a guy who's familiar, who's played Augusta. I can't. Well, you really don't think he's gonna? You don't think he's gonna finish?
No, I don't. I mean, Chris, they talk about it's a tough walk. It's a tough walk, and he won't let up. He's going to swing as hard as he always has, and they say maybe the speed of his club is down a little bit. So we're going to see. But who are you picking? You like Rahm?
I'm taking Jon Rahm.
And I think he's got a great opportunity. He's won 3 times already, and you don't even know that, do you, Scotty? Of course
I knew. Of course I knew that.
You knew that, did you?
I've done my homework before the show. What do you think I am, a hooligan? I mean, come on. But overall, it's the best. Fun. It's going to be a blast. It's Masters week. That's all that matters. Every dad alive looks forward to this week every year. But I saw Tiger practicing on 18 today, and he already had lineups of people around it. Either way, it's Masters week, Jerry. I'm excited. Well, Jerry, it's hard to believe the end of the show is here. Let's wrap this thing up. It's time for the wrap. We're starting right off the hop. U Sports men's hockey has come to an end. How'd she finish?
Yeah, well, I covered it all year. Well, I didn't cover it, but certainly we mentioned it on this show. And it was held in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. The Acadia Axemen hosted. The UNB Reds, second rank, got knocked out in the first round by Ryerson. So it's the University of Quebec, Trois-Rivières, up against Alberta in the final and beat the number 1 ranked Golden Bears in double overtime to take the championship. Meanwhile, St. FX wins the bronze by beating Ryerson, and former Wildcat players Jacob Hudson, Will Bauer, Ethan Crosman, along with Adam Hallwell and Blademan Dixon, all collected bronze medals. Congratulations to them. The World Cup has announced its event as who's playing who, Chris, and what do we got for Team Canada?
Well, step 1, everybody was excited. Canada got there. Step 2, the question mark was going to be what group were they going to fall in. Good news is they avoided the group of death, which is what they tried to avoid. They did end up in Group F. Not going to be an easy one for them, but it's a kind of a good case scenario for them. They've got Belgium, they've got Croatia, they've got Morocco. Again, it won't be an easy draw for them, but overall, I like their odds in this one here. I think they could go 2. I think they could win 2 out of the 3 in this game, but worst case scenario, they go 1-1-1. Either way, I am super excited. I cannot wait for the World Cup. Give us an update on the MHL, Jerry. What's happening?
Well, the MHL's in their second round, Chris. The first rounds, the semifinals in the North and South Division, have been completed. Summerside beat Edmundston in 5. Fredericton took Campbellton, a surprise for me, in 6. Truro took Amherst in 5. And Valley beat Yarmouth, who was the second-ranked team, the second-best record in the MHL all year, eliminated them in 6 games. The best-of-7 finals for the North and the South get underway on Friday. Well, tip your hat to Jacob Stewart. Jacob Stewart scored 7 goals for the Summerside Western Capitals in their victory over Edmundston in 5 games. So he's found his way in Summerside and vying for a championship. They call it the Canadian Tire Cup in the MHL. How about March Madness? Who won that, Chris? I don't know. I never saw it.
It was exciting. In fact, it turned out to be a lot closer in the end than it looked like it was going to be when the game started. But congratulations goes out to Kansas, the number 1 seed, taking over the number 8 seed North Carolina. Although at the end of the day, I love March Madness every year. The bracket, everybody's bracket was busted after round 1. But overall, everyone's favorite game of the entire tournament would have been the Duke North Carolina game in the semifinals. That to me was your March Madness final. But overall, great final in general. Another great tournament. It was good to see all the fans back in the arena. Hey, can't wait till next March. Jerry, another former Wildcat, now Philadelphia Flyers Ironman streak has come to an end. Crazy to hear.
There's been a theme to my wrap-ups today, hasn't there? It's all been Wildcats threading its way through. And Keith Yandel, 989 games without missing a game. Now, that's 11 games away from 1,000. And the Philadelphia Flyers decide, we're going to go in another direction. We're going to have some younger guys play. And they sit him. He's a healthy scratch. He took it on the chin like a pro, but come on. You can't, there's 12, 13 games left in the schedule. You can't sit him at the end of the bench. Let him play a couple of shifts to continue that. Phil Kessel is the next guy close to him, Chris. He's 21 games away. Now, whether or not Kessel gets it, he won't get it in Arizona this year, but he could get it next year wherever he might show up. So I didn't like the fact Ortho Keith Yandel couldn't hit 1,000 straight games without missing. How about Ryan Getzlaf? He's going to miss some games. Chris, is he retiring?
After 17 years, 2 gold medals, the Olympics, Stanley Cup, Ryan Getzlaf's finally hanging it up. If you look back at his draft year, it was such a phenomenal year to see how many players came out of that draft year. But looking at that young core in Anaheim right now, what a great leader they've had. Ryan Getzlaf will be handing that over at some point very soon. Either way, the question mark has been floating around the last 12 hours or so, and that is Ryan Getzlaf a Hall of Famer? Of course he's a Hall of Famer. I won't go as far as to say first ballot, but I'll say he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Well, Jerry, that's going to do it for us here this week. We hope you guys have enjoyed the show. We'd love bringing it to you. We'll see you next week.